Hey guys, I got a real special treat for you guys today. I want to show you how I built this awesome dual humbucker Strat style guitar with a Floyd Rose tremolo and 42 different tonal options. Now, I built this guitar for less than 250 bucks, so if you want to see how I did that, stay tuned. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's get started. For this build, I started with a cheapo Strat style guitar kit that you can get on eBay or AliExpress for around 50 or 60 bucks. Now the prices on those kits seem to fluctuate based on demand, so if they seem a little bit higher right now, just wait a little bit and the prices will eventually drop. Of course, if you don't want to wait for those prices to drop, you can get a similar Strat style kit from thefretwire.com. If you use coupon code GUNSANDGUITARS, you can save $10 off of any kit at the Fretwire. Now my buddy Nico from NicoCarbonWorks.com sent me this kit to build, as well as this beautiful high gloss carbon fiber pickguard to show off. Seriously, this thing is gorgeous, so if you guys are interested in having a carbon fiber pickguard, check out NicoCarbonWorks.com. He hooked us up with a special coupon code, Guns and Guitars, just like at the Fretwire, where you can save 20%, that's right, 20% on any Strat style pickguard, or if you use coupon code CARBON10, you can save 10% off of anything, and he's got lots of different types of carbon fiber stuff that you can buy from his website. So seriously, Nico, super awesome of you to hook up that 20% coupon code, so thank you so much for that. You're a real bro, and you're a friend of the Guns and Guitars community. Anyway, to really do this pickguard justice, I really wanted to do some outrageous mods to this kit. But firstly, as with all my kits, I had to fix a couple of things. I had to level and crown and polish the frets, and I needed to fix the sloppy neck pocket by shimmying it up and adding some extra angled support screws for increased sustain. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on how to do those steps because I do have videos dedicated to them, so check out the links in the description if you want to learn more about that process. But if you want your guitar to play like a high-end guitar and sustain like a high-end guitar, it's important to take the time to do those steps. Also, a quick tip for you guys, if your kit came with one of those plastic neck plate grommets to go in between the metal and the wood, go ahead and throw that in the trash. You're going to get much better sustain if you allow the metal neck plate to contact the body directly. Anyway, once my neck was attached, I went ahead and measured for my bridge placement. And again, I'm not going to tell you step by step right now how to do that because I do have a video dedicated to this, so check out that link in the description as well. Speaking of the bridge, like I mentioned earlier, I did want to do something outrageous to this guitar kit to really do this carbon fiber pickguard justice. And a lot of you guys have been asking me to install a Floyd Rose style double locking tremolo. You guys have also mentioned interest in me trying out and demoing some products from guitarfetish.com. So I reached out to them to see if they'd be interested in some kind of partnership or offer me some kind of discount code for my viewers, and they are stubborn sons of guns. They wouldn't do anything for me. So I did want to try out this Speedloader style licensed Floyd Rose tremolo system from their website, so I just ended up paying full price like anyone else would, except that I'm a cheap son of a gun myself. So a quick internet search found a 10% discount coupon, and I got this thing for about $65 shipped, and that includes the locking nut piece as well. Now unfortunately, that $65 makes this bridge tremolo system the most expensive piece of kit on this build, including the kit itself. Now, installing a Floyd Rose into a Strat style guitar is no joke. It's a very involved process, and there aren't a lot of good video tutorials out there to show you how to do it. So I plan on making a full step-by-step tutorial on how I did this, but for now, the long and short of it is this. Once you've measured where your bridge is going to go, you need to drill where your set posts are going to go. And once you've done that, you actually need to reinforce the inside of the electronics cavity, because between the electronics cavity and your set posts, there's very little wood, and you will get cracking or tearing or the wood blowing out entirely in that spot. So it's important to do that. So as you can see here, I just used some picture frame hangers and some wood glue as my reinforcement. Then you need to chisel away some material on your fretboard to make room for your locking nut. I just found that a regular utility blade worked awesome for this. And lastly, something that I should have known that I didn't is that you actually need to route out your tremolo cavity to fit your Floyd Rose. Otherwise, when it sits on top, it's going to be about 1/8 of an inch too high. Now, I could have just shimmed up the neck to match, except for then we'd have to run our pickups at a really high pickup height, and it would have just made playing it a little bit awkward. So, after I applied the finish, I went ahead and routed this out, but I recommend you do that before you apply your finish. As I mentioned earlier, I will be doing a more step-by-step tutorial on how to install a Floyd Rose tremolo into a Stratocaster, so subscribe if you want to see that, and when the video's done, I'm going to link it in the description as well. Also worth mentioning is that I did need to modify my pickguard to accommodate this Floyd Rose tremolo system. Now, working with carbon fiber is no joke, and you can really jack up your lungs if you don't have the proper equipment to do it, or if you've never worked with it before. before. Now that was my bad, because I decided on the Floyd Rose style tremolo after Nico sent me the pickguard already. So if I'd known that ahead of time, I would have just told Nico, he would have added those Floyd cuts and it'd been no problem. And if you're planning on doing a similar build, I recommend you do that, because it's way better to leave the carbon cutting to a pro like Nico rather than to attempt to do it yourself. Now moving on to the finish, this kit is made of basswood, and basswood, while I have gotten kits that have gotten decent wood grain, this particular kit was really bland. So I decided I wanted to add in some tiger striping to give it kind of a faux flamed maple finish, kind of like I did when I refinished the stock on my Mosin Nagant. And I'll show you how I did this awesome finish right now. For this hack, you're gonna need some wire. Regular plain old baling wire works okay, but it's kind of difficult to work with. I much prefer this mechanics wire that I get from Harbor Freight. This stuff's really cheap, it's like 50 cents a roll, and there is no better wire for this job than this stuff right here, so I highly recommend it. So take your wire and wrap it around your guitar like this. Next is the really fun part. We're gonna light it on fire using a small propane torch. Now, quick disclaimer, whenever you're handling fire, you need to use extreme caution. If you're a child, make sure you're doing this under adult supervision. If you're an adult, make sure you act like one and use extreme caution. I don't need to tell you that fire is dangerous and things can explode, so just be careful. Bottom line, I won't be held liable for any issues that may arise from you trying this method. And to burn in the tiger stripes, you actually don't want to light it on fire. Just lightly singe the wood as evenly as possible, letting the wire reflect the heat into a random striping pattern. After it's done cooling off, unwrap the neck and it should look something like this. And if you've never tried a technique like this before, make sure that you practice on some scrap wood first, because it will take you a few tries to get the proper spacing that you want, as well as the proper level of burn that you want, in order for this to actually be a believable flamed maple sort of finish. And I promise, you are not gonna get it right on your first try, so definitely practice. Moving on to the guitar body, the idea is exactly the same, except for wrapping a guitar body in wire is next to impossible. So I rigged up this little jig to spread the wire evenly across the top of the body. Then I repeated the process with the torch. After it cooled down, it looked something like this. Way better than it looked before. Then I lightly sanded it with 220 grit sandpaper to make it look a little more natural, and then it was ready for staining, or in this case, dyeing. Now, to get this awesome orange to red sort of sunburst color, I used regular ordinary liquid RIT dye. I just lathered on some cherry red, let it dry, then sanded back the center a bit with 320 grit sandpaper and lathered on some sunshine orange color. Then lastly, I repeated the same process, but with lemon yellow. Now, working with RIT dye is definitely not the same process as working with a stain. To create a sunburst effect with stain, you would probably do the lighter color first, then kind of go around the perimeter with the darker colors and blend them in, which is actually a pretty difficult process if you've never tried it before. But with RIT dye, I found it easier that if you start with the darker colors over the whole body, and then sand back the amount of color that you want to show through in the middle, then add the lighter colors, it makes the blending a little bit smoother. Then lastly, of course, I applied my favorite Formby's tongue oil finish, which makes for a really smooth satin sheen that just feels super good to the touch. It's an especially good finish to use on the back of your neck and your fretboard, so if you don't want to use it on your entire guitar body like I do, at least consider using it on your neck, because it really just makes for a really smooth, fast playing neck and good protection for your fretboard without altering the tone. Okay, now as much fun as that finish was, let's move on to my favorite part of building the guitar, the electronics. Now the electronics that come with these kits are typically just trash, so go ahead and chuck them out. Now, probably the biggest tip that I could give to a beginner kit builder or to just all budget guitar builders in general is to buy your pickups used. Not only buy them used, but buy used pickups from a guitar that you want your guitar to sound like. For example, like I mentioned before, my total budget for this build was $250, and most of that was taken up by the tremolo and the kit itself. So for pickups, I knew that I liked the tone of a PRS SE277. Now the PRS SE277 is actually a $750 guitar, but I found a used set of pickups from one on Reverb for $40. So, $750 tone for 40 bucks? Yes please. So I went ahead and slapped those pickups in there, and while I was at it, wired in a few tricks. Now a while back, I was challenged by some of you viewers to do a dual humbucker guitar setup with coil taps and phase switching, which, I thought was a great idea. But I also thought, why not fit every bell and whistle I possibly can underneath the hood of this pickguard? So I saw your challenge and raised you a few tricks. So here we actually have two 3-way mini toggle switches, one for each pickup, and they control parallel, split, or series operation of each individual pick guide. So that takes care of the coil tapping you guys asked for and adds an additional parallel option. Then I wired this master tone pot to be a push-pull pot that controls whether the two pickups together operate in phase or out of phase, just like you guys asked. And lastly, one more mod that I added, and it's my favorite mod to put on guitars these days, is a push-pull pot on the master volume that controls whether the two pickups together operate in parallel, like a typical Stratocaster or just about any guitar, or in series for an output boost and mid-range boost. This mod is awesome if you play through a tube amp because the extra output and increased mid-range really helps to drive your tube amp into overdrive. Now, you've heard me say this before if you've been on my channel for long enough, but I love wiring hacks because they cost almost nothing and they add so much versatility to your guitar. For example, these little 3-way toggle switches I got on eBay for about $5 a piece, and these push-pull pots I get on Amazon 3 for $8. So just a few bucks, you can add a ton of versatility to your guitar. Speaking of versatility, if you do the math, you can actually get 42 different unique tones from all the different combinations of using these controls. Now, that's obviously a bit much for the average user, and most people will probably find these controls a bit confusing because they don't really understand exactly what they do. But there's two really good reasons to have a guitar with this many options. One is if you're into recording, it's awesome to have 42 different tonal combinations because you can kind of play around and see which tone is going to perfectly nail that one track that you're trying to lay down at the moment. And two, well, the reason why I built this guitar with this many tone options is just to see what they do and how they sound. I'm really just trying to figure out which of these mods are worth it and which aren't for my future builds. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am way tired of hearing myself talk about this guitar. Let's hear how this thing sounds. As always, for all my demos, I'm going to be recording directly into Logic Pro using this Focusrite Scarlett USB interface. And for this guitar demo, I'm going to be using the Modern American Amp Simulation, which is similar to a Mesa rectifier. Now, a guitar like this just begs to play some metal, and I'm not much of a metal player, so this demo is probably really gonna suck. But let's try it out anyway. Hang on, I'm getting a phone call. Maxwell. Hey Max, bro, I'm in the middle of filming a video right now. Can I call you right back?
Yeah, I'm actually watching it right now.
Wait, you're watching me? That doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Look, the bottom line is you're not exactly killing it. You mind if I give you a few pointers?
Listen, dude, you're totally right, and you are a way better guitar player than me. Why don't you just do the demo? Think fast! That thing sounds way better in Max's hands than it ever did in my hands. It must be the long hair and muscles, I'm guessing. Anyway, not only is Maxwell an amazing guitar player, but he really shares our enthusiasm for finding high-end tone on a low-end budget. Now, I know you guys love it when I review and demo cheap, awesome effects pedals that really get you good tone on a low budget, and Maxwell does that all the time on his channel, Guitar Max. So I put a link to his channel in the description. Subscribe to his channel if you guys want to see more of that stuff. And if you enjoyed having a guest artist demo my gear instead of my horrible fingers that don't move the way I wish that they would, consider supporting me on Patreon because it does cost me money to send these guitars to other people. Also, subscribe to my channel because in an upcoming video, I'm going to show you all 42 different tone possibilities in a back-to-back demo. Or if you're a Patreon supporter, just head over to Patreon and check out that video right now. That's right, I already uploaded that video to Patreon, so you guys will get early access. Now, if you're not a Patreon supporter, don't worry, that video will be uploaded next month here to YouTube, so just stick around if you want to see that. I'm Dan, this is Guns & Guitars, and that's Guitar Max. Thanks for watching, check out his channel.